Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Straw Hat Izzy, aka the Easy Cruise, if you follow me over on Twitch. And today, I am bringing you guys one of my favorite decks of all time for the BT10 format that we're going to have in about a month from now. But before that, a little announcement. My local card shop, Nirvana Games in EHT, New Jersey, is doing open play on Saturdays, every other Saturday, every Saturday. We haven't really determined yet. And I'd really like to build a Digimon community out here. So if you live in the area and you'd like to play or learn or anything like that, I suggest stopping by. We had our first open play this past Saturday where we had about 10 people, which is pretty good for just trying to build a community. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me or just show up and we'll have a good time. But anyway, for today, I'm going to show you guys what I plan on playing for a good majority of the BT10 format and what I think is one of the best decks if piloted super correctly and you put a lot of effort into it. And that is what we're going to see. So to start off with the eggs, we play 4 copies of Gurymon. So this one is just if you're over 6,000 DP, when attacking, draw a card. You only play 4 eggs. I think moving forward, you don't need a 5th egg unless that 5th egg is really powerful and really just usable in every situation that the other egg would be usable in. But there's no real card that I have for this deck that would do what that would do. So, 4 Gurymon. And then, in case you guys haven't guessed it, I'm playing 4 copies of the old Huckmon. This Huckmon is so good in this deck. This is Jesmon, by the way, but there's a few versions of Jesmon you can play in BT10, so we'll get to the end and we'll see what kind I'm playing. This Huckmon's really good because it just never misses anymore. Like, there's so many search targets that this card actually doesn't whiff. And that's really good. And you almost always grab 2. Like, very rarely have I ever not grabbed 2 cards. I think I've always grabbed 1, and I don't think I've ever not grabbed 2. Or yeah, something like that. You guys know what I mean. Then we play 4 copies of this Huckmon. This Huckmon's actually amazing in this deck. In the future iterations of Jesmon, your Sistermon count goes up. So this card doesn't whiff as often, and it's just very good to be able to keep cycling. So like, if you have this, and then you say swing with this the following turn, you cycle through about 12 cards by like turn 2, turn 3, and that's actually ridiculous. So if there's pieces that you couldn't search that you're trying to draw into, you cycle through your deck really quickly, and that's fantastic. So those Huckmons, and the last 3 rookies we're playing in this deck are 3 copies of Solarmon. This is mandatory. For those who have not playtested BT10 yet, Death Exmon is king. It is literally the best card in the game, and it's not close. Death X is the Nibiru for Digimon if you guys play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you can get the reference, and this card stops that specifically. So it's also really good into D-Reaper, which I think will have some relevance, and it's really good into Crossheart and Blue Flare because they can't Digicross for less. So being able to keep this alive and like play around Death X, which is a big deterrent for your deck, stop Digicrossing, and then being able to stop like the D-Reaper deck just stops a bunch of different strategies in the BT10 format. So that's it. Only 11 rookies. If we didn't have to play Solarmon, I'd probably play like 10 and play like 2 of the new structure deck Huckmon. But because we have to play Solarmon, we have to play like this ratio of things. These 8, in my opinion, are mandatory. Like, maybe you can switch one of these for one of the new Huckmons, but I don't recommend. I think these 8 are just... These 11 are the best rookies to play in this deck, specifically. From there, we're still playing 4 copies of the old Bao Huckmon. This is actually really good next format because it kills cards like Ballistamon. So, if you do hit a Jeremy Al security and then you swing, you can go ahead and, like, pop it on the following swing. This card kills very small things. It kills cards like Sistermon, Chumon, Terriermon, like any floodgate type of Digimon is really good. And in combination with Chimera, you can start killing off like 7Ks, so that's pretty powerful. So 4 copies of this Bao Huckmon, and then 4 copies of the new Bao Huckmon. So this Bao Huckmon says all turns if this Digimon has Huckmon or Raw Knight in its trait, it gets plus 1000, which is really good because then it makes your guys huge. It makes all of your Sabers 8k, plus like if you have a CL, they could be 10k. It makes your Jesmons huge. So it's just really good. You only play these 8 because they are searchable. Because these cards are searchable, like, these are the ones you would play, and that's why I say you very rarely whiff in the stack, you very rarely don't see pieces, is because all of your cards are searchable. From there, we are playing 4 copies of the new Savior Hakumon. This Savior is actually really, really good. So for those who don't know what it does, when Digivolving, this Digimon can attack one of my opponent's unsuspended Digimon for the turn, and then its inheritable is when attacking once per turn. Thank God it's once per turn. If this Digimon has Rona and its traits, you can play a Sistermon from your hand or trash for free. This is really good because it allows you to do really cool plays. I'll show you guys a combo at the end of it that just pushes for damage. Like by turn 2, by turn 3, you can present lethal almost always. If you see pretty much any line with like this and like a few other cards. So very good. It's actually, and I never thought I'd say this, it's actually better than the old Savior. If the old Savior was at 4, maybe you switch up the Mega lineup a little bit, but like the Mega lineup is so good in combination with this card that, like, I don't know, this card's actually ridiculous, guys. Speaking of Old Savior, 1 copy of Old Savior because it's at 1. Maybe I would play more of it if it was at 4, but there's like other cards I want to play, so even if this card was at 4, I might only play like 2 or 3. This card really would just dictate what my Mega lineup would be. So it being at 1 is actually fine. It's kind of like the HPD curse, where like if that card's at 4, you don't really want to play 4 because it slows down your deck. This is actually really similar for this card. So I don't know. Even if it was unlimited, I might not play 4. I might switch to Mega lineup. It dictates how your deck is built, but with it being at 1, I don't have to stress it too much. And then the last 2 ultimates are 2 copies of Chimeramon. This card's still broken in this deck. Like, it's actually absurd. Being able to play free bodies and then turn them into a Chimera and then turn those into another Jesmon is just ridiculous. It's the main reason why this card is at 1. And yeah, this is just a ridiculous card. Really good next format. Being able to use this in combination with Balhug to kill off like 7Ks and lowers is really strong. So that's it for the ultimates. And then for the Megas, we have 4 copies of the starter deck Jesmon. This Jesmon is so good. So on Digivolving has Blitz, which is something that I think if the old Jesmon had, it would be the best card ever printed. So it has Blitz, and then when attacking, you play Sistermon from your hand for free. It can only play from the hand. And then when you play Digimon by an effect, you get plus 3000 and Sec +1. So they let Jesmon do additional damage. Yeah, it can't restand unless you have the 1 Savior, which you don't really want the 1 Savior here because you're not trying to OTK. You're trying to like 2-turn kill. It's a little different than how we used to play the deck. But the Blitz is really relevant because even if you pass turn, because this card evolves for 4, you still get to play a guy for free. You still get to do additional checks, and then you still get to do additional combos just because you can Blitz. So you can go all the way from a champion straight to this and still do the damage and still play the Sistermons. Whereas before you would have to go like champion, ultimate, then go into the Jesmon, wait another turn to be able to swing. And just because you don't have to wait that extra turn, it actually is very beneficial to the deck. Being a turn faster for Jesmon is actually quite absurd. So 4 copies of that one, and then 3 copies of Jesmon X Antibody. This card is very, very good. So it evolves over a Jesmon for 0. It has Piercing. When Digivolving, whenever you Digivolve, it doesn't have to be over a Jesmon. It doesn't have to have X Antibody in its traits. When Digivolving, play Sistermon from your hand or trash for free. And then, if you have a Sistermon in play or Jesmon underneath this card, all of your Digimon gain plus 2000 to the end of the opponent's turn. So any Digimon already on field, any Digimon you play, get plus 2000. And then they can attack all of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. And that's just a global blanket effect for that turn, or for till the end of the opponent's turn. The fact that you can like just do really cool combos with this card is why I love it. It's really memory efficient in this deck, and it helps to pull off a lot of the crazy combos. And I think it is the better version of the deck to play than playing Jesmon GX. And spoiler now, I guess, there are no Jesmon GXs in my deck. We tried it. It ended up being a little too slow. It passes over a little bit too much memory. And then the sister lineup you play has to change around the Jesmon GX. And for that reason, I chose not to play it. This was more memory efficient. It does a lot of damage, and it's more consistent. So we chose this, and it's part of the really cool combo you can do by like turn 2, turn 3. Alright, so that's it for all the megas. I don't play any level 7s actually. I don't think you need them in this deck. Your Jesmons get huge enough as it is, and there's no real level 7 that would benefit you. The only one I can possibly think of is like Omnimon Alterus could be a good tech for the format because de-digivolves and then kills everything. But, you know, I think it's only okay. From there, we play 3 copies of Sistermon Seal from BT10. This card is incredible. Like, this card is actually ridiculously good. So, on play, if it's your turn only, because you could hit Judgment of the Blade, play this. If it's your turn only, you get to Digivolve into a Digimon with Raw Knight and its trait for its play cost, for its Digivolve cost. And then, if you Digivolve into a Digimon with Huckmon or Raw Knight and its traits, gain a memory once per turn. So, if you can stick one of these for one turn, all of your Evolve lines later on are just cheaper. And then this actually facilitates a lot of the really cool combos you can do in this deck specifically. So this card's really powerful. I wouldn't play less than 3. I don't think I'd play 4, but I think 3 is where it's at. It's just a good recurable source that makes your evolutions cheaper. And I think the Sistermons now are a lot better than the Sistermons we've had in the past, and the Sistermons that, you know, we've been used to playing. Like, I don't think the Awaken cards are very good. I think some of the other sisters are very subpar. So 3 of this is actually a really good start for it. From there, we play 3 copies of this Sistermon CL. The CL lineup is kind of big, only because we want to be able to trigger Chimera, but all of these cards make our evolutions cheaper, or give us memory and put our opponents in weird pinch situations where they can't usually win the game. So I think these are all relevant, and everyone knows what that CL does. Giving plus 2,000 all turns to all of your Digimon with Huckmon or Raw Knight. So like if you have this combo to where like this is getting plus 2,000 plus this, so it's already a 15k without any boosts. And then this will give these plus 2,000, so they're all huge, they're 7k. And if you have the blocker, then they're 7k blockers. Speaking of the blocker, we're still playing 3 copies of Sistermon block. This is probably the second best one. Like, these two are in a race for the best Sistermon because they both do incredible things, except this one giving blocker is really good because it makes these cards better. So 3 copies of this Sistermon block, and then only 1 copy of the new Sistermon block. The reason for this is actually for the Alphamon matchup, because this has decoy. So them being able to get into an Oryukin, if they don't have a Dex Storogray to pop this, the Oryukin will try to pop your Jesmon, and then you just decoy it to this. It's also here so that your Solarmon can't get Crimson Blazed, or so that they can't pop your Solarmon before doing anything, before being able to like Death X you or anything like that. The decoy is really good for keeping a lot of your cards alive. And for those who don't know, on play, draw 1 card or discard 1 card from your hand. It could be any card, and then draw 2 cards. So it is, it's very good. It's very helpful for consistency, which the Blancs have always been. And that's it for the Sistermon lineup. Now for the tech in my deck, and I guess it's not really a tech once you understand the format. 2 copies of Death X1. I didn't see really anybody in Japan doing this, playing Death X in this deck. It's really good. And the reason being is because a lot of times they have to commit a lot to crack your board, and then you Death X them in return and crack their board. And one of the cool things you can do is like you can Death X your opponent and then play Solarmon so that they can't Death X you in return. And a lot of decks don't have that luxury. This card has 1 many games. I for sure just shouldn't have 1. And I don't think it lacks consistency in this deck. So people will see Death X and be like, well, you can't evolve over it. It's a dead card in your hand. It's not really. Like, it's just an option card that's a body. And forces your opponent to play awkward. Like, they can't put a lot of Tamers out. They can't put a lot of bodies out. And they wouldn't expect to see it in this deck. They expect cards like Crimson Blaze. They'd expect, like, higher-end cards like Jesmon GX. And I think this is actually the best option because this card is just so good into the upcoming format. Like, it's actually quite ridiculous. So, 2 copies of Death X. I think everybody needs to play Death X in their deck going forward. That's it for all the Digimon. Now for the option cards. 3 copies of From Masters to Disciple. From Master to Disciple is a really good card in this deck. Like, it's actually kind of ridiculous. Main effect, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add a card with Raw Knight and its traits. a card with Sistermon or a card with Huckmon in its name. So, this card is actually an option card with Royal Knight in its traits. So if you wanted to, you can go ahead and take one of these. Also, it trashes the rest of the cards. I'm sorry, that's very important. So you look at the top three, you pick one with Royal Knight, Sistermon, or Huckmon in its name, and then you trash the rest, which is really good because then you can take the Huckmon pieces while putting the Sistermons in trash, which is something that Red Memory Boost and other previous cards wouldn't allow you to do because they would bottom deck your pieces. And that would be the difficulty of Jesmon being, you need these certain pieces, but they're being bottom decked. And with cards like Chimeramon, even trashing a Savior Huckmon, the old one, the BT6 one, is really good because Chimera can now attach that card. So you get a lot more synergy. And then its other effect is it has delay. So you can delay, and then the next time you would Digivolve into a Digimon, any Digimon, as far as I know, then it Digivolves for one less, which is really good. It helps a lot of your power plays. And it's only a 2-cost option. So you get a search, and you get to Digivolve for one less, making it basically a 1-cost option. And then Insecurity, unlike Memory Boost cards, it actually does its main effect to where it looks to the top three. You take one, you trash the rest, and then it's still used on the field as a delay. So really powerful card. I think it's actually just very good in this deck. I'd probably play 4 if I had the room for it, but I want to play a couple other cards instead. I did play 1 copy of Red Memory Boost. Only 1 because I don't want to bottom deck a lot of the other cards that I have. And I think in general it's just really powerful. So 1 copy of Red Memory Boost. Gaining memory is very potent. And the last card of my deck is a copy of Emergency Program Shutdown. This card's very good in X format. It stops Sunrise Buster. It stops a lot of the option cards that would hurt you. But its main use is to stop Crimson Blaze. Crimson Blaze is one of the most detrimental cards to this deck specifically because you can't play cards with options. Or you can't play Digimon with effects. And being able to stop Crimson Blaze is very powerful. So setting up a board that consists of your Jesmon board and then like play Solarmon, play Emergency Program Shutdown, they have no out. It's just like forced. It's anywhere from 4 to 6 bodies. You can't get Death X because of Solarmon, and they can't Crimson Blaze you because of Emergency Program Shutdown. It's also a really good card if they hit Insecurity because it activates its effect and then it adds itself to hand. You draw a lot of cards in this deck, so it's searchable at 1. Well, not searchable, but it's drawable at 1 more often than other cards. And for just the reason that it protects Solarmon, it makes it so you can't get Death X or Crimson Blaze, is why I think the inclusion is very important. So I suggest playing at least 1 copy of this. And for those who haven't noticed already, that's the end of the deck list. There are no Tamer cards in my deck. You are very memory efficient in this deck, contrary to popular belief of how Jesmon used to run. And you're actually very consistent, also contrary to popular belief of how Jesmon used to run. So because of that, I don't think cards like Tai are very necessary. I don't think Tamers in general are necessary. And the issue with Tamers in a deck like this is because you go so wide, adding additional Tamers, playing Tamers, makes their Death X cost less. And you have to always keep in mind this card. This is the most punishing card in the Game Next format. This is the best card in the Game Next format. So please make sure you are just keeping aware of that. Make sure in your deck building, you don't try to oversaturate your deck with Tamers if you don't have to, and play around that card. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys one of the cool combos. I'm just going to pause the video real quick as I get everything set up. And it's how you can potentially set up lethal by turn 2, turn 3. Okay, so we're back, you guys. So here's basically how you would play the turn out if you're going second and you're going first. If you're going first, it's probably fine. You want to go second in this deck to take the additional card, obviously. So let's say we're going first. We're going to Digivolve into Huckmon in the back. And let's just say we draw each preceding card. Like, we just don't have these cards. We're just going to draw them as we go. Digivolve to Huck, draw into Bow Huck, put our opponent to 2. From there, we drew our Savior. They make a play that goes like, let's say Cool Boy, and then they play a 3-cost card. So now they put us to 3. 3 is how we do it this from 2 turns. If they put us to like 2, then we have to do it in 3 turns. Because you want to be able to Digivolve to Savior. So the following turn, what we do is we push up our Bow Huckmon. We're at 3. Digivolve into Savior, go to 0. So now we can attack unsuspended Digimon if we want to, which could be relevant in this situation. And let's just say we drew the Jesmon. We have none of the sisters. what we do is we would Digivolve into the Jesmon for 4, putting our opponent to 4. This is Blitz, and this is why I said this was very important. So now what we do is Jesmon can swing over Guy or swing at security, whatever you want to do. And we drew Jesmon GX. Now we'll go ahead and trigger Gurymon, so we'll draw a card, any card, it doesn't matter. Which is why I said like the evolution lines and like the Gurymon is very important because we're getting these consistency cards. The Huckmon will go ahead and look at the top 5 cards of our deck, add all Sistermons they find. So let's just say we see these 3. These are the best 3 to see, obviously. You want like these in your hand or trash, any way you can get to them. We would trigger this first because we want to be able to use this afterward. Then we would trigger this Jesmon, playing this CL. This Jesmon would trigger because we played a guy by a card effect. We'd get plus 3,000, sec plus 1. Then this would trigger on play. We can Digivolve one of our Digimon to a Digimon Raw Knight and its traits for its Digivolution cost. Jesmon X's Digivolution cost over Jesmon is 0, so we Digivolve for 0 and gain a memory. We would draw for Evolve. Then Jesmon would trigger Jesmon X, letting us play a Sistermon from our hand or trash for free. So let's just go ahead and play the CL, gain another memory, and then all of our Digimon get plus 2,000, can attack over our opponent's suspendeds. And if we're attacking a Digimon, don't forget this has piercing. And now it also has sec plus 1 because this Digimon gets piercing and it gets plus 3,000. And then from there, this Savior can trigger, allowing us to play another Sistermon. So we can go ahead and play the Sistermon Blanc and draw a card. So now, what we've done by turn 2 is we've done 2 damage, because it's a sec plus 1. We have 4 bodies, they have 3 security, and it's turn 2. So even if their play was go cool boy, play like a Yuji or something, right? Or like play memory boost, unless they can crack this full board, which this is 3 blockers at 5,000, 7,000, 7,000 respectfully. Unless they can crack this, and they're usually at 2 memory if they started us at 3. If they started us at any more, we can put them potentially 1. We can even possibly keep our turn, but them putting us to 4 would have been the most ideal there, because then we could have put them to 1 or something. So from there, now they have to break our board. If they don't break our board, this presents lethal. And this is by turn 2, turn 3, like I said, as long as you could Digivolve the Savior and then like you get your Sistermon cards. Obviously, sometimes it takes a little bit more time, but with cards like this, like let's say our opponent hit any of these in security. Now, even if they put us to 2 and they hit this in security, we could just delay this, evolve into our Savior for 1 less, so it would be for 2, and then we still do the combo. Or like if they hit red memory boost and we just need 2 more memory, we could do it from there. So in situations like this, where let's say they did give us some ridiculous number, like they gave us 5 or something, we could go ahead and play our Solarmon, and now we don't lose to Death X. And even if they would Death X us here, cool thing, so we're putting them to 2, the Death X would cost 8 here. So they would have to Death X here, putting us to 6. It de-Digivolve this and kill all of these. But now, all of these are in the trash, right? And then we have this Jesmon back, and this Jesmon once per turn gets to play 1 from the hand. So we would trigger this guy again, just say we search 1 of these, and then if we draw this again, another copy, that's fine. Like we could do the combo all over, or if we didn't draw another copy, let's just say we got a Sistermon. We could play the Sistermon, get plus 3,000, sec plus 1, and then trigger this, bring back 1 of these, and then do it all over again. To where we just have a very big board, and don't forget the hatch in the back and the evolve if we have the cards, to where we have a very big board all over again, and we just deal with the Death X. Like, there's no real great out for them, because our thing is just so huge and things like that. Or if we just have this, right, and then we just Digivolve into this, and now we can just attack over the Death X, which is also very good. So that's just one of the combos I wanted to show you guys. It's very powerful. This deck's very consistent. I think it's very good into Cross Art. I think the cards in Cross Art that would beat this would be the non-engine cards, so Death X, Crimson Blaze, those cards. It's actually very good into Blue Flare, unironically. So one of my friends told me Blue Flare would be a hard matchup, but because you go so wide, they can like stun everything, but then they can't stun everything again. So you just like build an even bigger board to the point where they just can't stun at all. And because they can't stun at all, you're just doing so much damage, and you have such a presence. And that deck doesn't generally play Death X Mon, so there's not a lot of outs. And you know, that's the deck, you guys. Let me know what you think. I'm having a great time playing it, playtesting it with a lot of different people. The hardest matchup I found so far was Alphamon. If they can get to a Dex Storyray and or Yukon, then it's very hard to win the game. But beside that, and if they OTK you, obviously. Beside that, I haven't really had any issues with the deck. I think like it's fantastic into the meta, and I think you guys should give it a try. It's going to be a really good, really fun format if you just practice a little bit and play what you think is fun. Again, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys. Have a nice day.